What brought you to be the sober warrior?
Uh, Everything. Um, Life was. I grew up in Brockton, Massachusetts, and grew up in a tough household where I was abused as a child. Just to be blunt with it. And I don't know if I was really a bad kid, but I took a lot of the beatings or the abuse from my father, who really took it out on me if my older brother or younger brother was acting up. Um, Over the years, I've come to terms with why that happened. Growing up with a father, you and then get into recovery, you kind of develop the education of mental health, and you start to designate why dad was like that. And as I grew in my faith and in my recovery and my knowledge of mental health, I realized my dad was a severe, or still is, a severe narcissist. And I never knew what a narcissist was until I started to really dig deep into who I was. And as me being a child, 6, 7, 8 years old, I think every child wants to look up to their dad and say, I want to be like dad. I want to be like dad. So anything he did, whether it was right or wrong, was okay. It was good. I want to be like that. I want to be like that. So if he was abusive, if he was, um, making bad choices, it's still okay for a child to say, yeah, that's my dad. I want to be like him. So not to get off topic, that was the majority of where my trauma started as a child. As I got older, I started to use different outlets to cope with that kind of trauma. Um, whether it was alcohol abuse, whether it was emotionally damaging women, because that was, in my mind, just normal because dad did that. And How I really, really turned my life around was realizing how much of a shit bum I was. I was never a physically abusive person. I was more verbally abusive, and I was basically following the same tracks that my dad did. But now I had a little boy, um, my son Carlo, who was going to look at me and say, "I want to be like dad." And I where I got married to his mom very young. I was like 25, 26. We had Carlo, and we really got off on a bad start from with our marriage. And I found myself sleeping on the couch like 6 months into our marriage and drinking heavy duty bottles of wine, like like a jug of wine a night.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of those emotions were really coming back to me as a child, seeing my mom sleep on the couch, not really understanding why. Um, when it happened to me, I realized what was happening to her. So I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. I'm losing my marriage. I'm losing myself. Um, the wine turned into, well, it was basically stopped working. I was drinking excessive amounts of wine. So I went to vodka. Um, a fifth of vodka is basically a gallon of vodka, and I was at a point um, where I was close to finishing one a night, and basically to the point where any normal person that would do that would be in alcohol poisoning state and or unconscious. And I got to a point where I was drinking so severely, um, I lost track of who I had to be as a person. As far as a career, I was a mortgage broker, so I was losing a lot of my own credibility as a person. Um, is that the phone? Um, so that being said, my poor choices where I was emotionally damaging to my wife at the time. There's reasons why we got into arguments. There's no right or wrong, but the way I handled it was poor. And I handled it poorly because mainly of I didn't manage how to cope with um, life problems
Mm.
normally because I would drown those things out. Um, we ended up getting divorced. Clip Notes version. I met her. She lived in Florida. She moved over here. We got married. Uh, we had a child. Didn't work out. She ended up going back to Florida, and she went back to Florida um, with a fake allegation that I assaulted her. And like I said, I'm 6.5 years sober now, so I got to the point where I forgave her for what she did, um, and I really was in the wrong for my verbal abuse, but not physical. So I ended up going to jail. It was my first time ever going to jail, and it was quite the jail experience.
Did you go to jail in Florida or Massachusetts?
Massachusetts. So she ended up making a fake allegation against me, um, and I ended up getting arrested here. Now, with the fake allegation in Massachusetts, they passed this law where when Jerry Remy's son murdered his girlfriend or wife,
Yes, I remember that.
um, there's an automatic 8 hour cool down state. Okay, so no matter what, if you get arrested for any type of verbal or physical
Yeah,
altercation,
domestic.
domestic,
Yeah.
you are in jail for 8 hours, no matter what. So I got arrested at 7:30 at night, was in jail, um, 8 hours. I missed the bail bondsman on a Friday night at midnight, so I'm in there all weekend. And I thought it would humble me. I thought it would straighten my ass out, but I really came out with
So when you were sitting there, you said, "I'm done with this." Even for 2.5 days, you said, "I'm done, and I'm gonna be a different person when I get out of here."
no, no, the opposite. I
Wow.
couldn't wait to get out and drink. I couldn't wait to get out and drink. Um, and I was in there all weekend. I got on Monday, and my wife at the time was in Florida. She already took off, and her way of leaving the state with my child was to make this fake allegation, get a restraining order. Um, like I said, if she's listening, I forgive you. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, I got out and I couldn't wait to drink. I didn't give a shit about her being gone. I didn't give a shit about my son being gone. I cared about how can I manage what I just went through that was so traumatic because I went to Ash Street Prison. It wasn't. I lived in a Acushnet. Acushnet's like a very small country type of town. They didn't have a jail. They didn't have like a cell. So if you got arrested in a Acushnet, you were sent to the city prison. Um, and it was the same prison that which Lizzie Borden was
Oh, geez, yeah,
sentenced to. So it was fucking wild.
that's
And
crazy.
when I got out, I got freaking bombed, and I just went on a tear, and I I was emotionally a fucking mess, like to the point where I just continued and continued and continued to now mix in other drugs because the vodka wasn't doing the job for my emotions. So I started to mix in benzos, which is Xanax. Um, the doctor prescribed them to me thinking, you're kind of dealing with they prescribe that stuff to people who like lost a child if it died in the car accident.
Postpartum.
Yeah, something, just to kind of like neutralize your brain. But with alcohol, the amounts of alcohol I was consuming in the benzo, it was like one drink was like 10 drinks. So I was completely blacking out every single
And
night.
you were used to, "I can drink a handle of vodka, and it
Yeah,
doesn't even touch me."
yeah. And I lived my life never hungover because I didn't even get to the point of being hungover because I would wake up from a blackout state and pick up a Bud Light out of the fridge. Either even friends would come over and visit. I'm drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they would say you're an alcoholic, and I'm like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? Um,
So where was the realization, since it wasn't the jail, what was the catalyst? Because it wasn't your son, but you did tell me earlier that your son is why you do this.
yeah.
So where was that end point where you said
So
enough is enough?
that's the foundation of of my trauma as a child and my addiction. And the addiction took me to a place where I couldn't live anymore, and I tried committing suicide. Um, one night that I really looked in the mirror and realized it wasn't me. It was something that was an entity, or I believe in ghosts and spirits and faith and all that. I'll get into that, but I saw my demons in my eyes for the first time, and I don't know if it scared the shit out of me. Where I tried taking my own life, but I did try taking my own life with overdosing on everything I had, alcohol. In a blackout state of mind, I was saying goodbye in a text message. I don't even know what it looks like now, but I'm sure it didn't make much sense. But I was saying goodbye to my mom, and then my door was kicked down, hours later, and I got help. And I went to a doctor. He gave me some withdrawal medications. Um, and the chances of that happening, well, the reason why I tried committing suicide was I was living like a piece of shit. I couldn't live like this anymore, and I was in like a lot of legal trouble with poor choices. And you can't hide the fact that you're an addict or you're an alcoholic. It's just you can just see it in someone, and
Yeah, you can lie to yourself, but other people will see it.
yeah, they see it, and especially a judge. And the reason why I tried just ending my pain was because the judge, when I was going through my shit with my wife, ex-wife, gave me a device to blow into and said, "You're going to lose your rights to your son if you blow positive." So I planned a trip to go see him, and I had 4 days to clean my ass up. And I had to blow 3 times a day into this device. And I did that every day that I ended up seeing him. But when I left court, I was deflated. I can't do this. I can't.
Why do you think you felt that way? Because you just proved that you could.
Prove what?
Well, you did it for the 4 days, so you proved to yourself that
No,
you could do it.
so the 4 days didn't come yet.
Oh, okay.
So I got out, tried committing suicide. After I kind of like skipped a beat there. The reason why I tried ending my life was because I was living like a piece of shit, and the judge was like, I wasn't sober yet. She said, "You're gonna blow into this device, and if you don't, I mean, if you blow positive, you're gonna lose your son."
Oh, so you were
So
looking at the faith again.
I had 4 days to blow a clear in order to go see my son.
Yeah.
And I did that. I did that. I walked into a boxing gym because I don't even know why. I was laying in bed. I was depressed. I was shitty. I was withdrawing. I was on medication, and I googled. I remember I googled how to stay, how to beat sobriety, how to stay busy, or something like that. And boxing gyms popped up, and a boxing gym in New Bedford popped up, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go work out, and I'm gonna try boxing. And I walked to a boxing gym and told the trainer what I was facing. Um, he took me in. I'm very grateful for the kid, Jason Pyres.
Say shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Jason Pyres. Um, y- that's where it started. I walked into a gym, worked out. He trained me. Went home, blew nothing into no alcohol. I fell asleep, and did that for 3 days straight. Went home, gym, home, gym. Get on a plane, saw my son, and that was the light switch.
That was it.
I had 3 days or 4 days of clarity, just enough that the fog cleared a little bit. And I have a picture of my son, sleeping on me on a Chase Lounge chair in Florida, and that was the moment. I made sure I captured that on the camera. That was it. I knew I had mixed emotions about it because I was so upset with myself that I would take my own life and leave my son with unanswered questions and not knowing who his dad was. Um, but hearing him, hearing his heartbeat, feeling his breath on my chest, that was it. I knew what I needed to do. Um, I was failing him, and when I got back, I just had the momentum to keep training, setting small goals, whether it was a smoker show at a gym or an amateur show, and I continued to grow. Um, and I really just took off with it. I just continued and continued and continued to train. I continued to grow. And one gentleman in that gym was in recovery as well. And the trainer kind of told him a little bit about my story. And he said, "Wow, you're in there a lot, man. You're training a lot." He's like, "You're looking good. You're like a sober warrior." And that was where like the idea or the name was born. This guy Randy called me sober warrior, and I just continued to grow. And at a certain point, I think I was like 6 months into my recovery. I was staying sober. I was doing the right thing, um, and I was like, you know what? If this is going to help me, this is going to help someone else. And I started this Bags for Hope, where I would post on Facebook, post on Instagram, post on Craigslist, and get donated heavy bags that nobody was using anymore. And I would go around to different sober homes in New England and donate them and give my testimony of how it helped me and hopefully it would help them. So I did that for a couple of years, and then not a few years actually. Then COVID hit, and we kind of stopped doing that. Um, so that's where the Sober Warrior was born, and that's where the idea of helping others, because it helped, it did so much in my life, boxing.
And that's now 6.5 years
6.5 years.
and going very strong.
Yeah, I would never, I'm not looking back.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Well, no, you're telling me the gym's exploding. Like, you feel like you've already outgrown this place after a
I
year?
do. And it was always my idea to have a place of um, recovery slash wellness center where someone can have an outlet, and healthy outlet. Um, and now the gym is just thriving. You know, I started small with a friend over in a studio gym, and we just kind of was like, we're gonna do it. And I look back and I wish I found boxing as a child. I don't think I do wish I found it as a child, because I think I would have been something greater in the sport, not in the community, but I would never change my journey. I would never change what I went through, because without that in my life or what I went through, I would not be who I am today.
And you wouldn't be helping the people
Right.
because you wouldn't have went through that.
I went through the majority of my things I went through in life is what I can really relate to with um, a behavioral kid that comes in here, whether it's home issues with abuse or school issues or suicide. I work with a suicide survivor. Um, you know, this sport has magic in it, and I can really relate to these kids. And my job, I know my role now is to be a role model for them. Of I can relate to them of what they're going through, uniquely connect, and also um, prevent them from making poor choices that I made.
You were telling us how because of your background, you feel that you can help these people because you have the empathy. You've been through it, you've seen it, and you wouldn't have changed anything about it. And I really love that you said that you think that boxing has magic. What do you what do you think it is about boxing that can take somebody who's possibly on the brink of suicide or definitely has addiction, because addiction is forever?
Right.
What is it about boxing that can pull them out of the depths like that?
What I personally have gone through, and what I can relate to is it's a positive outlet, and it is a positive emotional release. Okay, some people, um, some people need any type of outlet, whether it's lifting weights or punching a heavy bag. I just felt like it was released like this crazy amount of endorphins in your body, where you almost get to not a high like that you would get high doing drugs, but you would get a healthy type of high. And it was
Yeah,
almost like,
oftentimes people refer to that as like a flow state,
okay,
like where you're exhausted, but you don't realize it, or an hour will pass and you don't even notice because you're just so in the zone, you're so focused. Is that kind of what you're thinking of?
yeah. And at the end of the day, I really put my sobriety and boxing together because I was making mistakes in my recovery, not with relapsing, but with the same behavior, right?
Mhm.
I had to do a whole transformation of wiping out, surrendering to God, finding my faith, and starting my foundation with God. Before I had the devil in me, and that's what ruled me. Um, so I started with the foundation of God, and um, from there, it just took off with these ideas and his guidance of helping others.
What was the catalyst for you finding God?
When I was about to go see my son, I walked into a church, and I didn't believe in God then. I told you I saw my demons before I believed in anything good or evil. Um, and when I walked into the church, I just said, whoever's watching over me, because I was already, um, I didn't commit suicide, and I was okay, and I was walking, and I was breathing. I I walked to a church and just said a little prayer and said, whoever's looking over me, and whether it was my dead grandmother or whether it was God or whoever, just please guide me through this. And I remember I tell the story in my testimony to other sober people. I'm kneeling down saying this prayer in this beautiful Catholic church, and I smelled shit. I smelled like shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is that smell? And then there's other people around me like sniffing away, sniffing. And I'm like, and I look down, I get fucking dog shit on my boots. And I took it as a sign. I took it, okay, whoever's looking over me saying this is gonna be a shitty fucking road and we're gonna get through it.
I like that.
So I left the church leaving a trail of shit going down this fucking walkway. But that's where my first prayer happened, and I didn't find my faith. I think the seed was planted then. I didn't find God until 7, 8 months into my recovery, where he was starting to show me in my spiritual journey signs of growth and signs of um, spending time with him, how important it was to him, and how he's blessing me every step of the way.
Yeah.
And it could be a very small blessing, and it could be a very big blessing. This place is a very big blessing, and um, I know God's hands are on this, and I do spend time with God every day. He's real, and
So let me ask you. So with that, and I noticed as we spoke before we started that you do have a very large following,
mhm.
and you help people again with these things. That must be heavy.
No, it's not.
No.
No, it's not. People would I don't want to say it's not. I guess when I first meet someone, I have the thoughts of like, wow, this is gonna be a lot, right? So let's just use one of my he's like foremost, he's my friend. He's not I don't look at him as a client, I look at him as like my little brother. I met Johnny a year ago, last week.
Okay.
Johnny is a suicide survivor. He was dealing with mental health issues. He's a young kid, he's 26 years old, and he tried committing suicide. He tried to hang himself, and he was resuscitated. And by the time they resuscitated him, he lost circulation or airflow to his brain. So he's a traumatic brain injury. I don't put suicide on social media about him. Traumatic brain injury,
Yeah.
awareness, things like that.
Absolutely.
When I first met him, the his mom called my girlfriend Bree and said, "I have my son." He told her the circumstances, and she said that other gyms were turning him down and wouldn't help him. And I was like, you know what? I was like, just bring him in and let me meet him and see what he's capable of doing and not doing. And in that conversation, his Johnny's mother said, I have a daughter and I really want her to try boxing, even if Chad can't take on Johnny. And I said, well, bring them both in. I have a kids class. I think it was like a Tuesday. Um, the daughter's wrapped up. She's in the boxing ring. And in the beginning of a kids class, I teach them just to loosen up and shadow box. And Johnny comes in his wheelchair. At this point, he's paraplegic. Um,
Yeah.
is it paraplegic? Yeah, so he's in a wheelchair and he comes over. This equipment wasn't here yet, so he's right here. We're shadow boxing, and they're throwing ones and twos, and he stands up in his box in his he stands up from his chair and he starts shadow boxing. And that was the sign for me to say this he's here for me and I'm here for him. He has taught me a lot in my journey with him. He's taught me patience.
Oh,
But I,
it's incredible watching you with him.
yeah, he's come a long way, and I give, I'll say it 15 times in this interview. God's hands are on this. He brought me and Johnny together. We've become very close. If I'm not with him, I'll FaceTime him. Just
Yeah, I saw him, come out with you in your last fight. That
yeah.
was awesome.
So he
That was
he.
so awesome.
So that's our thing. I set for me with my growth. I set goals. And with Johnny, his memory's not 100%,
Yeah,
and set small goals to him. So mentally, I always talk to him like my little brother. I'm like, bro, all these chicks are gonna be watching you walking down this lane with me. And he's like, I was like, you gotta walk fast. You gotta walk like you're a fucking king.
yeah,
And he I'll just do a small thing, and I might he's a very candy junkie, I call him. He's a
okay.
candy fanatic. So he might be on the treadmill, and I'll be dangling a fucking Hershey's bar in front of him to keep him walking.
Yeah,
But his motor skills have come a long way, and he knows every time that I do fight that he's gonna be walking out with me, because this is his journey too now. And he'll never fight in the ring, but before I met him, he was training to be a boxer, and that's why his mom seeked this out. She found a YouTube video of me helping sober warriors in Brockton, and other gyms turned her down, and I brought him in, and it just took off. And
yeah. It's been it's like I said. It's the inspiration for somebody like myself. Like I didn't know you. I didn't know him, and you post the videos, and I believe, I when I first saw it, you were always had to hold him, and then he was able to hold mitts for you where you
yeah,
weren't holding him, and you're like that level, that growth is incredible. So, what do you see like the goal for him? Do you think he'll ever be able to walk?
I think he is walking with some guidance, but a year a year last week, he wasn't walking like he's walking today. He didn't have the emotions um, that he has today. He doesn't react the way he was.
Yeah,
He's smiling a lot more. He knows I love him, and we always hug. There's no handshakes. There's always a hug and I love you, a hi and bye. Um, and we always give each other the middle finger when we pull up to each other, next to each other.
yeah,
And he smirks, and I am looking forward to the next 12 months and to see how much, well, I know he's going to grow, like
oh,
how
absolutely,
much further he grows. Um, and I will continue to fight in that ring until my son is in my life again. And I'm still fighting for him. I'm very close. I think I'm at like I'm in the end zone right now. I'm just
okay,
waiting for the extra point,
yeah,
and I want him to look up at me in that ring, whether it's a Mohegan Sun or um, the bright light somewhere, and say that's my dad.
okay,
Because I've my journey because of him. I've continued to help other people because of him, and he's the reason why I'm still alive.
yeah,
Um, at the end of the day, like he's my why. I call it my why.
yeah. Now the newest one I saw, and I don't know if it's brand new, but with physical therapy where they had a prosthetic, and
Yeah, so Brandon, he's only 3 weeks in, and he loves coming here. Like he's a awesome dude. He was in a car accident. They amputated his leg, and he said he came in and he was like, physical therapy is a joke. He's like, it's not making me any stronger. Um, he, you know, if he's if Brandon and Johnny are coming here, putting the work in, and it's helping them, there's no fucking excuse for anyone
right, right,
else.
yeah. How are you not going to get up, right? What's your excuse?
So he is amputated, and I'm working with him more on balance and strength. But he's an inspiration, and now he's um, I can see his growth over the past few weeks I've been working with him. He started his own support group that they don't really have support groups for amputees unless you're military,
Okay.
like was in like a bombing or something.
Yeah.
So he started his own group, and I told him, I said, listen, you can use my gym at any time with your support group to have your meeting, and it's I'll even give you guys a workout. I do the same thing with sober people.
Wow.
I have sober meetings on Monday nights.
So like a version of AA.
I don't call it AA because it's not AA, but it's a recovery meeting. So
Right.
it's
Sure.
my style. Like if, for an example, in AA, you can't if someone's talking, you can't intervene in crosstalk. It's called. I am a big fan of crosstalk. Like
Okay.
if I'm
Yeah.
relating to something or somebody else, I want them to chime in and say, "Okay, this is what I did when I dealt with that," or "This is I can understand what you're saying." Um, I never got into meetings. I did go to one meeting in my recovery, and it just wasn't for me. I just found boxing was for me. Donating bags and giving testimonies was my way of recovery. Everyone has a different way,
Right.
uh,
Right.
but I wanted to have a support group here because some people come to the meeting and they don't work out afterwards. I offer the meeting here and then a free hour boxing class
Wow. That's incredible.
or circuit training. And some people are 70 years old and they can't box, so they come for the meeting and they take off or they hang out.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that's once a week.
Once a week, Monday nights, 7 o'clock. And I'm with Johnny 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And if anyone,
Yeah. You seem very active.
yeah, man,
Very active.
it's good. It's good. And I was telling you early before the mic was on that sometimes I need to rein myself back in,
Yeah.
and let the I had to let my ego go, and that was very tough being a boxer because a lot of boxers are ego driven, and there's nothing wrong with that in the sport, but um, I'm not for that lifestyle. I'm
Yeah.
not here to be a world champion boxer. I'm here to box for my recovery and to give someone else hope and say, this fucking guy's doing it. I can do something like that, or I can, put down the bottle, or I can box and not drink a day. And I'm still dealing with things with my growth. I still have my vices, but I've definitely come a long fucking way.
Yeah. How does that work for you, knowing as you box that you're not going to be a world champion?
It was never the plan.
No.
It was never the plan to be a boxer. It was never the plan to have a gym. I was a
Right.
mortgage broker. I was driven by an ego. Money was my god. Um, so when I surrendered my everything I had to my faith, I just that was that was the turning point for what has come to my life. I'd be definitely dead right now or locked up in jail for the next 50 years from killing someone.
Right.
Um, Not in a malicious way, but drunk driving accident, something like that. I
Food
was
fight something.
something that wasn't in God's plan for me. So, like to get back to it, I have fought for the biggest New England promoter, which is a milestone for any fighter to fight for this CES boxing.
Yes.
Jimmy Birchfield, he's such a blessing in my journey. He can relate from his family of what I've went through as a addict, and alcoholic, and he really understands what my goal is. He knows I'm not out there to win a belt. I'm not out there to be on ESPN.
Yeah.
I'm there to spread my message. That's it.
Yeah.
Whether I lose or loss, honestly, I'm going to go out there and fight my ass off. And if I lose, I lose. I don't. It doesn't change my goal.
Yeah.
It doesn't change my path. And I did lose my last fight, and I embraced the kid in the middle of the ring. It was like, well done.
Yeah. That's a great
I
fight.
I don't I don't I don't let that deter me from that's
Yeah.
deflating for a lot of fighters,
Yes.
and I respect that. And some guys just don't have that fight that day. They don't have it in them,
Right.
and it happens. But I fought this kid at Twin Rivers. I knocked him out in the second round. Fought him again. I think 7 or 8 weeks later at Mohegan, we went to decision, and he won, and I'm good for him. Like props to him. Like
Yeah.
he beat the fucking lion.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
He was a better that day.
He was, and like I said, became cool with him. And we will run it back. We'll,
Yeah.
it's one on
Good.
one, so we have to run it back.
Yeah, yeah. You have to. The trilogy.
You have to.
Yeah.
Um, but
And
uh,
that's, is that coming up in June?
I am planning on fighting in the summer. So right now, I'm going to see my son in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm going to handle that.
He's still
Spend
in
some time.
Florida?
Yep, handle that. See him. Spend some, daddy time with him. Um, was offered a couple fights already. There's a Boston fight coming up in at the Agganis Arena, and I got a fight offer yesterday in Pennsylvania. But my plan is to focus on the gym right now, helping the people that um, are supposed to be being helped in my journey right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
If it'd be selfish for me not to take a fight and to take more time away from the gym. I just was when you're training, it's tough to run a gym and be as busy as you are and get the training
That you need as well.
that I need. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of like shot myself in the foot there with the training the last fight, but um I want to be super ready this time. So
Right.
I'm gonna focus the next couple months on the gym and then fight in the summertime, and I'll promote that when the time comes.
Do you have do you have any other boxers here that you see turning pro?
I do. I have a couple kids, and they're young, 17, but they have the natural beauty of skill and finesse and um, the eagerness. What people don't, what teachers and parents don't really understand of how much of an easy task it is to work with someone behavioral. Um, you know, I can uniquely connect with these kids. And I'm not just talking about me in general. I'm talking about a lot of boxing coaches have their own story, and I think, like I said, there's magic in boxing. Um, to connect with them on a level that they're on and relate to them. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
you're offering them something, Harry and I had talked about it, that's forever.
right,
The discipline and the camaraderie of a gym, that you make friends, that, you get in the ring, you tool on each other for 20 minutes, and then you give yourself a hug, and you realize that that person's pushing you and sometimes beating you up to be better
right,
so that you can grow. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to help you grow,
right.
admitting you make mistakes. We talked about that a lot too in the last one. Making a
The
mistake is inevitable.
Well, that's the biggest lesson in boxing, right? Making a mistake, you're getting fucking punched in the face or
Yep.
the nose.
So in the gym, you through sparring, you learn to control yourself, but you also learn to make friends as well as many other things that come across. And you had mentioned that losing control is not that's the big thing you try to teach people here. Losing control is not what you want to be doing.
Not at all. I mean, with all my poor choices I made as an adult, was from emotion and anger, and it got me in a lot of trouble. And for an example, I have a young kid who was 15 that just came into the gym from another town. His grandfather has him on the weekends. He brought him in, and he's kids fighting all the time in school. He's getting suspended. So this week he's suspended until Thursday because of another fight. Um, and he sparred yesterday, and his emotions took over. He got popped in the face, and his anger took control of the fight. And if you let your anger take control of the fight, you're gonna fucking get knocked out. You're gonna get really hurt. Um, so I talked to him afterwards, and I said, "Listen, we need to reel it back in a little bit. You get popped in the face, you stay composed, and you take that inside the ring and outside the ring. You're gonna be tested outside the ring. You're gonna be tested inside the ring. But as long as you're in control of your own fight, you're not gonna lose." Um, and there's a couple kids that are like that come here, and I do make them pay for what they do outside the ring. So if a kid comes in here and his mother said he's suspended till Thursday and he's training, you bet your ass he's wearing a 40-pound weight vest and some weighted gloves, and he's working out the entire time. So make him think about punching someone in the face in the cafeteria when his boxing coach is holding him accountable.
Yeah, there's
They'll never forget their first
yeah,
boxing
it's not
coach.
free. It's not free, right?
Right,
Like you don't get to make those mistakes for free just because, mom yelled at you, especially for like a young man.
right,
Mom yelled at you, and you're like, you don't think that there's a repercussion,
right.
and then you come here, and then all of a sudden, you're a big guy, and you're like, hey, throw that vest on. He's not telling you no.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's doing it.
And there's been a couple incidents where like I'm not doing that, and I say, okay, see you later. The door's right there, and then they don't leave.
Yeah,
So
sit out there for an hour and
you
wait for
know,
mom to come get you.
yeah, and once I have that little like I don't want to call it confrontation with them, but once I have that sit down with them, the initial sit down, we get our work in, and I do spend time with them afterwards talking about better choices and how to manage that better. If they're not if they don't have the proper tools to manage it, then they're going to be in trouble. And it just could be a voice of reason. It could
Mhm.
be like me sitting down with him on the couch and be like, bro, like you're upset with your dad, but your dad's been in your life for 2 years. He's been out of your life for 8 years. Maybe he's trying to, like fill in that gap with being extra dad mode,
Yeah, make up for
make
lost
up
time.
exactly. So, and it was special because like, I think I'm going to have to do that too. I'm losing time with my son. And when the custody thing gets settled, I'm gonna try and have to like reel it back in myself and say, okay, like I need to gradually be the best dad that I can.
Yeah, you had said something that was prior that was very powerful, where you said that when you were sleeping on the couch, that you were like, this, mom used to sleep on the couch, and
Yeah,
that you made up your mind that that was going to change. And a lot of people don't see that they can change and they can stop the behavior. Because if you had continued, then now your son could have that behavior. Then
exactly.
he's going to have a kid that has that behavior, and you've made up your mind, and that's very powerful.
Yeah, it's breaking the chain.
Yeah,
That's all it is, and you care about someone more than yourself, and
yeah.
that was my son, and I wouldn't want him to be verbally abusive to another female or talk down to someone. Um,
Or seeing dad drink a beer at 9 in the morning.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you couldn't probably even be around.
Oh, I mean, I know one day, he's gonna be proud that I'm not saying that he's not now, but I'm sure he's gonna tell me one day he's proud of me and um, knows what I did to change my life for him,
Right.
um, and that's better than any world champion belt,
Yeah.
is to have that.
Well, you're definitely leaving a legacy or creating one because it's just getting started.
Right,
That is a legacy of helping people and being selfless in, like you said, in a sport that oftentimes is very uh, egotistical and very selfish.
right,
And in coming from a situation, like you said, dad was a narcissist, and you're going, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be, selfless and help everybody,
right,
and especially with people that really need the help. And that's how can he look at that and not think that that's great?
right. And that was probably one of my toughest decisions in my growth was to cut off people that were toxic to my recovery, right? Because I have to put my recovery first besides God. If I don't have my recovery, my sobriety, I don't have anything anymore. Um, with me, if I have one drink, there is no such thing.
Right.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm getting in a high speed police chase and I'm going out hard.
Right.
Um, and I had to cut out people out of my life. I had to cut out family members. I had to cut out my father.
Do you feel like the people that you had to cut out were purposely trying to bring you back, or just they didn't understand like what you were going through
A
and
combination. I think there is a mental illness, hereditary type of thing happening, and well, is there in my family. Um, and I also feel like they don't understand in what triggers someone that is so sensitive to everyday life situations or trauma. With me, or any addict or anybody in recovery, we feel things a million times more than anybody, and I don't take that away from anybody, but we only knew how to manage to cope with that with numbing the pain with alcohol or drugs. So you take that out of the equation, now we're working extra hard to deal with that internal struggle. Um, so when I talk to someone about recovery and they tell me that they're sad, I know how sad they are, and how difficult it is for them to stay strong because it's a crippling. Any emotion we deal with is over the top.
Yeah.
So so
So what do you have, obviously now, like I said earlier, we had seen the video. Now you're working with, the person with prosthetic. We
mhm,
came in today and, Bree was doing yoga.
yeah.
What else do you guys offer here?
So Sundays are yoga with Bree and Bethany. Mondays are the boxing sobriety. We have started networking with different communities who have their own way of recovery. So, for an example, we started working with Rafa Yoga down in Cranston. They offer more of like an urban sweat type of like release your toxins. So we met with them. We went down there. We taught them boxing in like a studio room. We spoke, and then we did their way of recovery, which was going to different caves of it might be they're all hot. They're all like 180-degree caves. So it might be salt, might be turmeric, coal, and eucalyptus, and so on. And each one has a different type of release from your system. So Monday night, they're coming up here again for boxing. So it's starting to grow with the recovery thing.
Yeah.
We don't do a ton of, it's more word of mouth for the recovery. We don't, a lot of the AA meetings are on a list. We're not AA affiliated, so we're not on that list. So we kind of have to just put word of mouth. So if someone's at a meeting and say, I'm going to do boxing on Monday, it's free. They have a meeting there. That's how people are coming in. So the word is starting to travel now. It's getting busy. With other classes we offer circuit training classes, whether circuits is different stations for someone that doesn't have the cardio or the conditioning or the age. I mean, realistically, to box, and it's not for them. And then we offer group class boxing, personal boxing, and kids boxing. And kids are special. Kids are that's where I'm going to make my difference. Whether it's with I know it's going to be with my son, but if with my son and these other kids, where they're going to be remembering me the rest of their life because I helped them through something,
Yeah.
and they're going to remember this coach told me this one time,
Yeah.
and hopefully, more kids come. No, I mean honestly, the majority of the group boxing classes are women, stay-at-home moms that are dealing with this shit from their husbands or shit from their kids, and they come out and release their day, and then see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good. It's Bree connects. She's my girlfriend. She's come into this with me, and I didn't have any plan when I met her, and we grew into this. So
So where do you see it going?
uh,
Sky's the limit?
bigger, bigger. I want to have a full wellness center offering different ways of recovery. I'm going to stay with the boxing, but there's a goal in the future with other outlets where we can have boxing. They can go, sweat it out in a steam room, and offer that. Um, get the release on yoga. So that's pretty much where I want to be as a wellness center. Those, you know, that kind of
Yeah, absolutely.
different
You
type of
guys have done a great job here. This looks amazing.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. When you come into an empty building with just concrete floor, you kind of just don't even know where to start, and then you start, and then it just dominoes into a pretty place.
And it grows into this.
Yeah,
How long did it take you when you did start here? Because I think you said you've been here a year, correct?
a year last week.
How long did it make you take until you felt like comfortable, like we got something here and people are starting to catch on?
I knew right away, but getting the word out there that I was on my own, that was I want to say it was stressful, but it was definitely like a lag. You know, I like I told you in in this interview, Jimmy Birchfield has been such a great blessing in my life, and he's really put my story out there when it is time for me to fight, and people grasp that. So every time I've had a fight, it this past one has really blown up after the fight. You know, I've had kids from all over like I'm talking kids in New Rhode Island coming up here to train with me.
Yeah.
Um, and usually you find a gym 15 minutes away from your house. So it's definitely it's definitely been very busy the past few months, and I know that we're at the point where we're okay. You
Yeah.
know, um,
We're here to stay now.
we're here to stay. Maybe knock a wall down
There you go.
eventually.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I got to stay humble. And I got to. There's no reason to go bigger if you're helping the people that you're helping right now.
Right.
My goal is to have a full wellness center. When I first met Bree, she's like, what do you, I didn't have a job. I was like a loser, like not a loser. I mean, I was sober, but I had nothing. And she asked me what I wanted to do, um, with boxing. And at that point in my life, I was still going through like a lot of the, growing pains and recovery. Like, you still have those trickled bad behavior or vices that you had, whether it was looking for gratification, things like that. And she reeled me in a little bit, and she helped me grow through certain things. And she asked me eventually what I wanted to do, and I told her I wanted to buy this Catholic church, and I wanted to convert the church into a sober home, the rectory as a sober home, and I wanted to make the wellness center of the church. And I think that's still in the goal, um, of because all these churches are going down. You
Yeah.
know,
Have you reached out to churches to
no,
get clients or anything like that?
no, I'm just so busy
Yeah.
with life and with work. Like I can't really take on too much more right now because the people that really need the help, that I have been working with really need the help, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm committed to them. And I can't make my life. Um, I lived that lifestyle of work, 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 work when I was a mortgage broker, and it was toxic. It was bad, and I don't like. I need my time to regroup, to recharge those batteries. So when I go see my son is usually when I recharge my batteries because I don't even think about work and I'm with him. So I'm going down there in 2 weeks and we'll go from there.
Has he been introduced to boxing outside of you? Like, do you have him training down there or anything like that?
His mom had him into boxing, but he does so many other sports. You know, um, we're at a point right now where, you know, um, he's starting to be a little bit more cold to me, because of the things that have happened to him down there,
Okay.
things that have been said to him, I'm assuming. Um, so when I talk about boxing, because he knows I'm a boxer, he knows he doesn't really give a shit, or at least he says he doesn't, but
Right.
and he's just following suit. Um, but there's going to be a lot of steps that have to be made when I do unify with him, and we have to get the help that we do need together to get that reunification.
Yeah.
So I'm all do whatever it takes.
Yeah. And again, I think talking to you about it, you seem very humble and open to the mistakes that you've made. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with that stuff. Like they don't want to admit that it was them. Like very easily you can blame genetics, like you said, like it runs in the family. You can
Right.
blame that and then allow it to continue. And that's I think it's really admirable that you have stopped that and chosen to help other people do that as well.
Thanks.
And this is so powerful.
Right.
And everybody else looks at it as violent. And
Yeah.
you're like, the boxing in the ring is it's violent
Yeah. Right.
for sure. But then the fight isn't always against somebody else, is it?
No, it's, I mean, you're dealing with your internal struggles and your demons. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I was fighting. That's what I still fight. You
yeah,
know, sometimes they lurk. You know, it's just what happens. You know, and life gets at you, but you just stay focused on what you need to focus on and have this healthy outlet that I'm sharing with others. I was sharing with the what I was doing with the sober homes, and now I have a place where they know where to find me instead of me setting up a scheduled bags for hope and hoping someone in that room would grasp what helped me. But now having a place of my own, the store is always open.
yeah.
And they know where to find me, and they know they will find some peace in here. Um, whether it's a conversation with me, whether it's a conversation with Bree or Mike or some of the other trainers I have working here,
Yeah, how many people did you have working here?
there's four now. Four,
And it started out with just you.
just me. Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
you know, Bree would fill in for circuits and things like that, but now she just kind of like it's like I want to try, you know, offering yoga because I think in when I was with boxing trainers through my small 6.5 year career of boxing, um, they always incorporated yoga. One day of yoga, keep the body flexible and to work on things that I'm not a yogi, you know, I
Yeah,
don't do
yeah,
yoga. I'm not against it, but I don't think I really have the patience for to get
yeah,
my mind there. I do get my own meditation when I pray,
yeah,
but I'm all for it, Bray.
yeah.
I'm all for it.
Hey, it's not for everybody, but if it's for somebody,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it can
exactly.
help
And
some.
like I said, boxing's not for everyone. So if we have a place that has, you know, four different things they can see if works for them, then awesome.
Yeah,
Talk to different parents, and I talked to Johnny's mom, and you know, they cut Johnny off from certain rehab work or physical therapy, whether it was vocal or because she didn't want to give him a medication that they were forcing the medication, and that's the answer for all these places because of the money. You know, not to get into that, but you know, physical therapy, um, vocal therapy, they cut them off because they weren't giving him um, lorazepam, which is like a Xanax, which is like
yeah,
a benzo.
yeah.
But I had total respect for his mom for making that choice for him because that particular drug was like almost making him like a zombie. Um, and it brought his personality out. And we're doing the best we can with you know, I try to incorporate anything I can for Johnny, whether it's physical, emotional, and also vocal because he's not getting it. So I might fuck with him and say, every single press you do or every single punch you do, you're gonna swear, and he loves it because I'm not this like this, you know.
It's not like school. Like you're
It's
gonna get in
not.
trouble for
Yeah,
being
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. I'm just being. I'm his brother. You know,
Yeah,
like he's my boy, and he laughs at it. So if someone walks in the door, and we're very close in this gym, it's a very tight family type of gym.
yeah.
We love everyone. And if someone walks in and Johnny's sitting down with me, I'll have him talk shit to the person coming in. So I'll say, "Hey, tell Christine, ask her if she's getting vodka in that container right now." So he'll say it out loud, and another person will walk in and say, "Hey, John, tell her to get her shit together." And he yells it out loud. It's clear as day, which is special. So
Yeah.
um, no, like
How
I
are you gonna
said,
get mad at that?
no, I just try to keep it fun and real,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what people like, you
Yeah,
know.
vulnerability allows other people to be vulnerable when they see you being like honest about your past and being, being you. You're just like, hey, this is me. Like, I'm gonna swear, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna let you do that if that makes you like. I want you to be you because
Right.
I'm gonna be me. That openness allows people to do that, and it can help a lot.
Absolutely. No, I mean, this world has gone soft on us, you know, in a lot of ways. And if I keep it real and I keep it raw in here, then they know they're getting the real deal.
Yeah,
And that's what I kind of like thrive for is just to be authentic and real and um, be me, you know, like you might see me at an event with a gold grill in my mouth. Like that's me. I'm not in a shirt and tie anymore because that was a facade. You know,
yeah,
I was trying to be something, the white picket fence dad, you
yeah,
know, it's not me,
yeah,
you know, tattooed head to toe because I love it and it tells my story. Each tattoo means something to me, and it tells my story. And the old timers like, oh my God, look at this guy. Looks one of the students that came in. I wanted to tell you this real quick,
Yeah.
just to kind of understand how I uniquely connect with these kids. A kid came in and talked to his mom after he met me, and she's like, "Oh, his mom was like, how'd you like Chad?" He's like, "Chad's really cool." He's like, "But he gives me prison vibes." And I fucking thought it was like the best quote I've ever heard in my life because now this kid's will look at me like, I'm not gonna fuck up because this dude went to prison and he's gonna fuck me up if I fuck up. So
That's a great story.
it is. This he's only like 12 years old and he's like, yeah, the guy gives me prison vibes. I'm like, I like that. I'm gonna make a shirt out of that.
Yeah, there you go, there you go. So, we had touched on earlier, your last fight at Mohegan, and, I told you you had made a post that, I believe it was your last 5 fights, you sold over 200 tickets.
Yeah,
So what was it like there? What like, I saw a picture, it was amazing. Like, that was it might as
dude,
well was been like ESPN.
dude. I will never forget like everything I went through the past like 3 days prior to that fight, whether it was a press conference, whether it was the weigh-ins, it was just so overwhelming. Um, in the way my system or my body reacts to new atmospheres is like fuck, you know.
Okay,
And Bree took a picture of me walking down this like corridor into the arena, and that's where this was before the fight or before anyone even arrived. Um, and I'm walking down this corridor, and that was like the wow took over. This was like the morning of the fights, um, because we had the weigh-ins and the weigh-ins, and then you had to flex out for the crowd and all that. Um, but it was nothing like seeing the empty stadium and the lights already lit up for what the event's
yeah,
going to be. I saw the arena before, but not with a boxing ring.
and that was a sellout crowd?
I sold a lot of tickets, but I was earlier in the night. I think it was pretty close to selling out. And that place holds 5,000 people. So um, I was the first fight, and man, I just can't even start with how my emotions were because I'm trying to like calm down. I'm taking baths. I'm taking like eucalyptus baths, like just trying to figure out how I can deal with this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was something new to me. I tried meditation, I tried praying. Um, it was just so overwhelming, and my fight at Twin River was easy for me because I've already fought there, and it was familiar to me. So being in a like a really big arena with like this like the friggin' lights and the cameras and um everything to do with it, like security, Johnny freezing up on me when the cameras hit him and the big lights hit him because it's a lot more extreme than Twin River because they really do it up there. And I didn't fight my best fight, but I fought okay to say, yeah, I'm like, I did okay. Like,
yeah,
my nerves got to me for sure. Didn't throw enough punches. He threw a lot more, but I did knock him down in the second round. And hearing the crowd roar from when my name was announced to when I was leaving it was freaking special, man.
yeah. 200 plus people there just to see you.
Yeah, so we did like close to 250 at Twin River. We did like 220 um, at Mohegan. So from those two events, I've had a lot more followers that want to see me fight. Um, so I'm excited. It's a little good payday, and but it's the experience. Like I said, I don't care if I win or lose. I want to win, obviously, but it doesn't change the outcome of what I'm doing in my life. You
Yeah,
know.
you're there to fight, but you're also there to spread a message.
Yeah, like, people that don't believe in faith or believe in God, I always talk to people about it because it's what I firmly believe in. I feel it in my soul that, God or Jesus brought people together to groups and churches, and that's kind of like faded away. And now I know he's using me as like a beacon of light to share that message.
Yeah,
You know, I'm talking on this podcast about God and Jesus, and I always put that first. You know, people may not believe in it, but it's what I believe, and it's what keeps me on my path.
right,
And at the end of the day, like I know I'm not in there to be on ESPN and win a belt. I'm there to share the message of hope. That's it.
right, right.
That's it.
And like I said, you guys are doing a great job. Your presence is awesome online. It's incredible. Like I said, it seems like you never sleep. It's just go, go, go.
Yeah, it is. But you know, I've taken a little bit of um like a break off social media. If you see, I haven't been really posting as much because it does get mesmerizing after a certain point where it does take over, and people need to pay attention to that because you're taking away from valuable time from,
Yeah,
you know, post what you need to post, post your message, but you know, there's people out there that just live on that thing.
yeah. Time is the most valuable
Yeah,
commodity.
you're on borrowed time. You can't get that back. And I looked at um on an iPhone, you can see how much time that you're on
Screen time.
screen
Yeah,
time. And I looked at it one day and it was like 7 hours on social media.
and you're awake for 13.
But that's the thing is when you're in early recovery, right? You're looking for any type of gratification that you can. And social media was the thing for me. I got sober. I posted I was, you know, a week sober. People were like, "Keep going, champ. Keep going, man. Like, proud of you." And that's special to someone that's trying to get off drugs and alcohol because everyone else turned their back on you. Okay, so you have no one. You have yourself and whoever is just like, you know, mom. Mom's my rock. You know, mom is
Yeah,
the only one that was keeping staying strong for me. So any type of gratification on social media was so important to me that it was superseding anything else. Like
mm,
I was, if you go back to like 2016, you'll see I was probably posting about 18 times a day, and that went on for like a couple years, like
wow,
a lot of posts, and to the point I'm looking back now and a lot of selfies. I don't do selfies anymore. Um, it's a selfish act, you know. It's ego driven, and I had to fight hard to wipe out that ego.
right. It's the most difficult too because you're also on a journey.
I am,
You're
and you
trying to
just spread the
share a
message.
message.
Yep.
You're trying to build a business, and you're like, well, where is the line between why am I really doing this? Is
Yeah.
this for me or is this for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
business?
yeah.
So
Like if
I
I'm
can
posting a
understand.
selfie saying, you know, I worked out today, okay, who gives a fuck? Everyone worked
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
you know. So I stopped doing that. I'm spreading more of like what I'm doing for others.
mm,
Um, and like I said, I don't take that away from my growth. I did that because it did help me.
yeah,
And social media does help a lot of people with a diary type of media, right?
yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
people put their shit out there, like, bro, like, don't put your dirty laundry out there because
Sure.
people will shit on it. Um, and that brings me to how I met Passport Pudgy. Passport Pudgy um, was I don't even know what he was, 320-pound black dude, and he was a brother to me, literally like a brother more than my own brothers. I met Pudgy. When you're an addict or you're an alcoholic, the only thing that makes you feel good about yourself is to get a fresh haircut. And a lot of men can contest to this that they do feel renewed when you leave in a barber shop. Like you feel like, "Yeah, I'm gonna post some selfies on social media, with my new fresh haircut to see
Yeah,
if I pull some
yeah,
chicks, you know."
yeah.
And Pudgy happened to be the barber at this barber shop, and we became pretty cool. And I was at that point, I was early, very early in my recovery. I was like 2 months sober, and we're chopping it up on the barber in the chair, and you know, the barbers are amazing people. They are therapists in a way because you're fucking putting your shit out there to him, and he's like, yeah, yeah, bro, like, you know, whatever. Words of wisdom, of encouragement, and he knew I was newly sober and dealing with fighting for my son and what I was dealing with, and we became, you know, pretty cool. Like, and we didn't have any you know, phone. I had his phone number, but it was more for I need a haircut. You have any room?" And then we became friends on Facebook, and I trusted this dude from day one, and I knew I could tell him anything, and he wouldn't judge me, and that was the special part of this kid. He grew up in a very fucked up life. He was in, I think, 16 or 20 different foster homes growing up.
Wow.
So he never had the love the kid really deserved as far as family, you know. So one night, we were friends on Facebook, and I was like 3 months sober. It was like one of the coldest nights in New England in fucking like 20 years. And he's posting videos of himself like sad shit, like almost like or me type of videos. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this dude, right? And he's laying down in the back of a car, and it's cold, and he's in something about like being kicked out of his home or some shit. So I texted him through Messenger. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, where are you? And he said, "Oh, I got into a fight with my girl a couple of nights ago. I was sleeping in my car. I got shot a couple of times in my legs by an altercation from something happened. Someone shot him from an altercation, and he got kicked out of his girlfriend's house at the time. So I had no one. I had no friends. I had my mom. Everyone abandoned me. My family abandoned me. I just did a lot of shitty things to a lot of shitty people in a way too, you know, but a lot of bad things to good people. And I just felt in my heart, and I was like, bro, I was like, just come here. I have a couch. At that time, my house was 5,000 square feet. I lived large. You know, I couldn't pay my bills, but I had a house that was big. Um, and I said, come here. I said, there's a fireplace, so you can crash on the couch. He slept on the couch, and the dude slept for like fucking 36 hours. You know, he must have been just so tired of like being out in the cold, and whether he was sick or not from the gunshot wounds being infected or whatever, but he just slept. And I'm like, I let him sleep. Came back from work the next day that he went back out. I said, bro, you can stay here as long as you need. And he slept on the couch for like a week. And I just surprised him one day. It was like, and I just, a lot of my pain came from looking at my son's bedroom and seeing the crib in there, and it really fucked me up. And I had to put like a curtain up over his playroom, and it was tough. It was really tough. So I decided that I was gonna get rid of his shit and move it into a different bedroom and start something fresh for him. And I went on Craigslist. I got like a fucking queen size bed, a mattress, box spring, and a bureau. And I said, Pudgy, this is your spot. And I said, you can stay as long as you want. And he stayed with me for a long time. And he became a brother to me. Um, he was my best friend. He ended up passing away over the early spring of last year, and I still haven't grieved. I'm
Mm.
still not accepting it. Um, it's almost like I don't want to believe it because I shared everything with this man, and we had plans to grow together. You know, he was a hip hop artist, and he was growing, and I was growing in my boxing, and he ended up opening act for I don't know the rapper, but Da Baby. You ever hear of Da Baby?
Yeah.
Some one of the babies. He was down in Miami, and he was sending me pictures of this huge stage. Like I'm like, you made it, bro. Like you're on your way. And
Yeah.
he was very talented. And he got back, and he was super pumped that he did that, and he was getting known. And he was on 94.5, and like he was
Mhm.
just doing really well. He was signed by a producer, and you know, the kid was always a hustler, right? He was always just trying to make a buck. He was just always trying to make an honest dollar, and he ended up getting a job installing in-ground pools. So we go back from Miami and he's installing pools, and it was like 80 degrees out, and I got a phone call through Messenger, and I didn't pick it up. It was some random chick, and but I knew that she was mutual friends with Pudgy. That was the only mutual friend we had. And she messaged me and said, "Did you hear about Pudgy?" And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" She said, he's not with us anymore." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So then I got a phone call from the person again, and she kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, and I had no idea what the fuck, if it was a prank or if it was like real. And I called his manager, and he was like, "I'm sorry, he passed away. He had a heart attack. He was dizzy installing a pool, got lightheaded. He went to the car and he found him dead, like 15, 20 minutes later."
Wow.
And the kid is an amazing soul. Like my mom, um, and we had another mutual friend, Dakota. His mom was his family. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't have a mom. He had a mom, but he didn't have a mom.
Right, right.
And he just felt that he had a family. We would do a lot of things together for both of our growth. He was becoming a better man with things that I was involving him in, and he was making me a better man with listening and really giving me the raw "What's up, Chad?" Like he didn't sugarcoat shit, and that's what I respect about him. Um, he told me when I was wrong. He told me when I was right, and he told me I was fucking up, and told me if I was being selfish. And at the end of the day, he became a better man. His ex ended up passing away 4 months before he did, or 6 months before he did. They had two children, so he got custody of them, and then he ended up passing away.
Wow,
So it was fucking tough, man.
that's hard.
It still is, and I post a lot about him.
Yeah, and you dedicated your fight to him,
A
I
dedic
guess.
Yeah, so this kid I grew up with, he made some shoes, Rob Hughes, shout out to him. He made some shoes that were custom for him. Um, like I said, it just I'm still having a difficult time with it. You get difficult time talking about it too sometimes, but I know he's proud. I know he is, and he believed in me since day one, and I believed in him. And life is unfair, and life happens on life's terms. And I know in my faith that I'll see him again. I know he's watching over every step of my way, laughing at me, fucking kicking me in the ass when I need to be kicked in the ass. But
Yeah,
I look at my faith, and just know this shit down here is temporary.
yeah,
And when I'm on a thought um, of something that I know I'm supposed to be doing, I always see some type of hawk. I always see hawks.
yeah,
I feel like it's like what God's telling me I'm on the right path, or I'm driving in the right direction, or whatever it may
yeah,
be. Or my thought is what I'm supposed to be focused on. And the next day after his funeral, I went on the porch, and I yelled out to Bree, and I said, "Bree, I was like, come here, come here." And there were seven hawks, just seven, flying around like right
wow.
around my house. I'm like, this is fucking sounds crazy right now, but I know it was him,
Not
you know?
without a doubt. Without a there's nothing crazy about that. Like, there's so many stories of things like that, and
People can have their opinion about faith and things like that, but it's what I feel,
yeah,
and that's all that matters. I don't give a fuck about anyone else.
right. If
I mean,
it
I care about other people. I don't care about other people's opinion about me, and
right,
I let that go early in my recovery.
you have to.
I have to, and
Unless it's somebody like him who you can trust and he's telling you the truth, because we need friends like that.
yeah,
That's the real friend,
yep,
right?
and that's who I was to him too. Like I said, God bless him, man, dude.
Yeah,
And his kids. Like it's not over. I still have some work to do with. I want to incorporate his kids into walking me out. to
I was gonna ask you if they were local, if they were in the gym or anything.
Yeah, they're not they were coming here when he was alive, and, the grandmother got custody of them, on not his side, but the girlfriend's side of them, and we haven't really I invited them over to my friend's house for a pool party. They came once, but, it's tough to get to see them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're struggling, and I know I could help them, but time will tell.
Yeah.
I reached out to the grandmother a couple times. I am friends with Pudgy's, soulmate. Where they
Yeah.
were together. She still is his number one, and vice versa. So she tries to involve me with if she's got something, if she has them.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Well, I think you've learned a lot in your life here, that patience and the timing being right is what's important, and knowing that in between that time you have work to do and things to do, and then when the opportunity comes up, you'll be prepared
Right.
and you'll be able to take the action that needs to be taken
Yeah.
and help them out, or be there if they need it.
Right. Like I said, I can only take today for what today is. You
Absolutely.
know.
Um, so typically at this time, I'll ask you, like, do you have any sponsors or anybody else you want to shout out that has helped you on the journey, or anything you have coming up?
Um, Sponsors are really just when I fight.
Yeah.
I do have business sponsors that do sponsor a child that their parent may not be able to afford a membership, and there's some students that we personally, I call them students, boxing students that I personally take in with just who we are.
Yeah.
Is keeping them out of trouble. Parents not really around, but we do have sponsorship opportunities where you can sponsor a child, whether it's a child that comes in from Boys and Girls Club that doesn't have the financial backing to help them with gloves and membership. So they
Okay.
can always donate at our website, leancelloboxing.com. Um, and as far as anything really coming up, it's really just focused on seeing my son, number one, the the gym,
Yeah.
and then I'll be fighting this summer, uh, most likely at Twin River or Mohegan. I don't think I'll have to. I have to do it there. I have to fight at those two places because if I fight at Foxwoods or if I fight somewhere else, I feel like just knowing how my body is,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have that whole new trip again
Yeah.
with like the emotions of now I know I fought a Mohegan. I'll have that under my belt. I know what to expect. I know what to look at in you know,
Yeah. It
you
was
know,
overwhelming for sure.
bro, it was unreal.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I saw the pictures. It was
and
that might as well have been Vegas. That was.
I don't have an amateur career. I
Yeah.
have like 6, 7 fights, right? And I did that all in like 7 months, and I'm like, I'm gonna go pro. I'm too fucking old
Yeah.
to be fighting at these rinky dink places, you know. I set that goal, and now I understand why the amateur careers have 100 fights or whatever. It's to build those feelings and emotions to be in front of the crowds. It's not a pitcher and catcher. It's like you versus
Yeah.
the other bull, and you guys are going to kill each other.
Yeah.
So I don't have that experience, but what my coach, I made a post after my fight thanking my sponsors, thanking my promoter, thanking my trainers, and um, one of the most special things that I have read about myself from someone else was um, from Roland Estrada. Roland is they own Big Six Boxing. He is very respectable, known in the boxing community as one of the really big dogs.
Yeah.
And he took my post and he shared it, and he said, "This kid will never be a world champion, um, but in life, he is. Um, but in life, he is legendary."
There
And
you
that
go.
was special,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point. I'm
Yeah.
not there to go make $1 million. I'm going there to do my thing and share the message, and that's what I'm doing here.
Spread the word.
Yeah.
Sober warrior. All right. So we're all done. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
coming in.
brother. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. James, thank you. And
Thanks, James.
thank you guys. Bree, thank you as well. And we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, man.